Hello everyone, I hope you guys are doing great and you might have viewed and enjoyed the previous video in which Vladimir has explained about DEVA protocol and its applications in the form of derivative based products. So today we'll be having Keir Finlow-Bates, who is popularly known as Doctor of Blockchain and Metaverse Wizard and whatnot. So he'll be sharing his vision related to Metaverse and the future scope of Metaverse and implications of the advanced AI in the Web3 space. So without a further ado, let's welcome Keir. Hey Keir, thanks for joining in. I hope you are doing great.
Yeah, I'm very well, thank you. Thank you for inviting me along.
Okay, thanks. So first of all, I would basically like you to introduce like what you are doing and why you are known as Dr. Blockchain and Metaverse Wizard. The audience might want to know.
Right. Okay. Well, actually, I think I have Metaverse Wizard down on my LinkedIn profile for my most recent job, I'll put that in quotes. Most people at the moment actually know me as Blockchain Gandalf, and that's kind of a name that I reluctantly go by, but you can see where it's come from. And so at the moment, I'm working for a number of different clients as a blockchain consultant, but the thing where my passion lies is this project called the Orthoverse, which is an attempt to understand the metaverse and to experiment with NFTs in a sort of fun and educational way. I used to work more with Bitcoin, but these days it's all been Ethereum for the last, probably 5 years now. And I first got interested in blockchain back in 2010 when I discovered the Bitcoin white paper by Satoshi Nakamoto.
Okay, that sounds really awesome. So also if you can tell in brief about your ventures like Orthocorp and Chainfrog, what you are doing in them.
Right. Okay. So Chainfrog was my first startup company, and it taught me an awful lot about the startup world. I made all the classic mistakes. And that was founded in 2016. We were looking to connect databases together using the blockchain. The idea being that you can have different databases, MySQL, SQL Server, Oracle, and use the blockchain for replication and synchronization and to share database data securely between different organizations at a very granular level, so right down to table or even record level. It didn't do very well. I think we were probably about 3 to 5 years ahead of our time. The Orthocorp is a corporation that I set up with my co-conspirator in the Orthoverse, a guy called Richard. And the reason for that is that the Orthoverse was starting to get some traction. We thought, well, we should have a corporate entity, firstly for accounting and compliance and things like that, and secondly for legal protection. Because of course, if you have a limited corporation that owns the assets, your personal assets are kept separate, and that means your private life is safe. Whereas if you do something with a project and it gets traction, you run the risk that if somebody out there wants to sue you for copyright infringement or patent infringement or something, and then it's you personally who has to pay the price at the end. So that's the summary of my corporate life since I went independent.
Okay. Yeah, that's great. That's great to know. And also what inspires you the most in the field of blockchain, basically?
I think it's the sheer diversity of the knowledge that it requires. So when I first looked at blockchain, I looked at it purely from a computer science point of view and mathematician's point of view. So the cryptography and peer-to-peer networking, consensus algorithms, things like that. And then as I dug into it more, then I started learning about economics, which is a field I had held at fairly low regard before then. It's kind of a science that isn't really a science, but it turns out there's a lot more to it than I thought. It's just that it's not like maths in that there are many, many different schools of thought in economics, whereas in mathematics there's probably about 2 or 3 main ones. And then you move on from that into things like philosophy and sociology and even psychology. And I can't think of any other subject matter in the computer science world that pulls in strands from so many other areas. So that's why I love blockchain. It's got everything.
Okay. So like you are having like your background in maths, right? Okay. So like if you can elaborate a bit more about that.
Right. Okay. I started on a maths degree at Cambridge University back in the end of the 80s, so quite a while ago. And after 2 years of maths, I switched to information systems engineering, which was actually more maths, but it also involved computers. And so I've got a first degree in mathematics and information engineering. And then I went and did a PhD, and that was at London South Bank University. And it was in mathematics and education, of all things. So what I was looking at was what is mathematical proof, and why do students find it so hard to understand it? And I'm not going to go into details there. The thing about PhDs is that they tend to become very, very specialized and technical very quickly. But you can actually look at my PhD thesis on Amazon if you want to. If you're really interested, I had great fun doing the PhD, but it's, as I said, it got into some fairly heavy formal mathematics partway through.
Okay. And that sounds awesome. And also like these days the hottest topic is like OpenAI and ChatGPT. So like what do you think like it can like make implications in the field of blockchain technology, the advanced AI?
Right. Yeah. So back in late 2015, when I was laid off from a permanent job, permanent in quotes as it turns out, that I'd held for 10, maybe even 11 years. AI was one of the things I thought maybe that's something I'd go and look at, but I decided that really blockchain was what I was interested in. And I have to confess, it's quite impressive what AI has recently morphed into in terms of public awareness. ChatGPT is very impressive when you start typing into it. It does remind me a bit of a program that some of your viewers may have heard of, which is Eliza, one of the very early chatbots. It was written, I think, in the 70s, and it just used some simple grammatical tricks to hold what seems like a conversation with the person interacting with it, but it's actually a very small set of rules. Now, ChatGPT has got many more rules, and it's using much more sophisticated algorithms, but ultimately it is an LLM, so it's sucked in a lot of data, and it's using statistical processes and neural networks to decide what words should follow next, without having any concept of the semantics of the thing. It's as far as I understand, it's purely syntactic. Now, it's very, very convincing, and on the surface, you get some very interesting and neat results out of it. However, I think people are starting to firstly notice the style of ChatGPT. So you're impressed at first, and then it starts to get repetitive. Now that can be overcome by more and more training data. And the second thing that people are starting to discover is that it's not very good at telling the truth. So I recently posted on LinkedIn how on some of the bulletin boards and chat channels that I hang out on with developers for various open source projects, we're seeing a lot of people coming in saying, I asked ChatGPT to write me some code and it doesn't work. Can you tell me why? And the answer you generally give is, read the manual, it's all in there, and then you don't hear from them again. So I think it's going to have a lot of uses. I think ChatGPT is probably the sort of surface fluff type thing, and there's a lot of more useful stuff going on at a deeper level, but it's just not as media friendly. And I think that it gives a very good first impression, but as you dig deeper into it, you discover the limitations fairly quickly. So personally, I'm not worried that something like ChatGPT is going to take away my job anytime soon. It's useful for a basic start, but it's nowhere near being an expert yet. However, I'm more than happy if the AI people prove me wrong, and in 2-3 years' time, it turns out that actually something like ChatGPT 7, 8, or 9, whatever its number will be by then, can write flawless, secure Solidity code, say, better than I can. that would be wonderful.
Yeah, I think GPT-4 can audit the smart contract. They have basically.
It does a really basic analysis. It doesn't, and it misses stuff. And it's certainly, it's been trained from what it's found on what's been scraped off the internet. So if there's a new exploit that's not covered by data that is found, I think it's highly unlikely that it'll uncover it. Now, there's some clever AI stuff going on. There's a guy called Stephen Thaler who has written some AIs that he claims invent stuff, and he's filed patents that these AIs have invented. And I had a chat with him, and it's quite clever because it's actually using two AIs to talk to each other. That sort of one's trying to invent stuff, the other one's assessing it and criticizing it, and the feedback between the two. That's one of the tricks that he's using. The courts have decided that an AI can't be an inventor; it has to be a human being, and he's actually fighting that in several court cases. I think one in South Africa. I'll have to check how that's going, actually. So there's all sorts of fascinating stuff going on, and I am a bit jealous. Actually, not jealous. I'm just sad that I haven't got the time to also understand that. You have to focus on one thing in particular. I think you can't be an AI expert and a blockchain expert at this moment in time.
Okay. So like in your opinion, what is the future of Metaverse basically? Like, can AI and Metaverse like go like in the same way?
Well, there's two questions. One is, what's the future of the Metaverse? And the second one is, how could AI help Metaverse?
Yeah.
Right? So I'll answer them separately. So the first one, what's the future of the Metaverse? I honestly don't know at the moment. I think there is some useful stuff there, probably not as widely applicable as we were led to believe by various very bold pronouncements that were made starting about a year and a half ago. And I think we're now hitting the sort of trough of disillusionment where a lot of the promises that were made about the metaverse have failed to be delivered, despite companies like Meta throwing billions of dollars at it. I'm still concerned at the obsession about it being three-dimensional. I think that is, and it's a funny thing to walk away from when you look at Neil Stephenson's book Snow Crash. Of course, he put it in a 3D world. He was writing a novel that had to be interesting and exciting. So having protagonists running around in a Matrix-like world is much more exciting. And then having two people sitting at a keyboard at either side of the world, typing in lots of cryptic commands, as far as most people can see. So there's a reason why films in which the two hackers who are fighting each other are just sitting at terminals typing endless Linux commands and do not make it into the Hollywood, because it's not interesting to watch. So what I found interesting about Stephenson's Snow Crash was more about the economy of the virtual world. The idea that if you have a digital world in which you could have unique entities and where you could have scarcity, and that can drive an economy in a way, in a decentralized way, compared to the centralized economies of, say, games, where a company like Epic can decide we're going to shut down Fortnite. They won't at the moment because it's profitable, but they could 5, 10, 15 years in the future. Or they may arbitrarily decide to ban you when you haven't even done anything wrong, and then you've lost all your assets. So the idea of digital worlds that are parallel to our world, where there is a genuine sense of ownership for the participants, I think has the potential to be valuable. But as has always been the case in blockchain, we've gone through a wave of speculation and of hype. And I think we're kind of, at the moment, it's like the night after the excessive party. So I think we've kind of into hangover territory at the moment. However, when we've recovered from the hangover, I think there's every possibility that we'll come out a bit wiser, more informed, and better able to make sensible choices in the future. Hope springs eternal.
Yeah, that's really a genius response that you have given. And like now, basically, I would like to ask a common question that I usually ask with all the founders and all the all the inspirations basically, like what advice or suggestion you would like to give to the youngsters who are basically looking forward to do their own startups, particularly in the Web3 space?
Oh, advice for what to be founders with thinking of starting a startup. My first thing would be don't do it. It's incredibly stressful, and you are going to feel lost a lot of the time, and you're going to look back and kick yourself for the bad decisions you made. So that's the downside of startup. It gives you many sleepless nights. You work very hard, and the odds of you succeeding are very, very low. On the plus side, I can't think of a more significant learning experience you'll have than going through the effort of running a startup. It really is a crash course in business and sales and marketing and looking to the future as to what technology can do. So there's a lot to be learned, and it's provided me with skills that I wish I'd had 20 years ago, because I think I would have made a much better go of my career if I had only known the things that I know now, having been in a startup. And these are things that with 20 or 25 years working for small and large corporations as an employee, I never would have learned. So my take would be, if you could afford to, give it a shot. Have the dream, but also be realistic that the odds of that dream coming true are pretty low. And don't get depressed, and just make sure you soak up all the information you can about all the areas in business, because it'll stand you in good stead for the rest of your life. So that's the advice to startup founders. Web3. For that, I'd just say the internet is a treasure trove of information. There are all sorts of areas you can go to. LinkedIn's got very good for blockchain and Web3 stuff. There are plenty of Medium articles, Substack journals, things like that. So just go and look and read and participate in discussions, and most importantly, get your hands dirty, try stuff. Go look for a tutorial on how to set up your own NFT marketplace in React with an NFT contract on the Ethereum test network. Stuff like that. Go and look at the source code or Uniswap. It's not that complicated. Dig through every single line, make sure you understand how it works. Find open source projects out there that look interesting to you and dismantle them. Have a look, dissect them, have a look at how they work. That is, and if you are passionate about it, if you're just looking to move into it because you've heard that it's hot and you're going to possibly get a good job with a high pay, might work for now when there's a shortage of Web3 developers. But if you don't really have the passion for it, there are plenty of people out there like myself who absolutely love it. And really, that's what we want to be doing with our spare time. And you'll be up against them in 5 or 10 years in the future. So you may want to think a bit more long-term than just trying to jump on what is currently probably a bandwagon, but will ultimately, I believe, steady down into a reliable career path. But think about your motivations. And if it's just the money, and then think again.
That's really a great advice, and I hope like the to-be founders will definitely like adapt to that advice and also follow the guidelines that you have just mentioned. And it's and like it's really nice talking with you. I think we have covered most of the things, and also like thanks a lot for giving so much valuable information. That's a really informative session.
Well, you're absolutely welcome. It's been really fun to be here, and good luck with your endeavors in the future.
Sure. Thanks. Bye.
Bye.
I hope you guys have enjoyed the video and get to know about Keir, aka Blockchain OG, Metaverse Wizard, and also get to know about his views related to Metaverse and its future scope, and also the future implications of AI in the same. I'll be sharing the Twitter profile and LinkedIn profile of Keir in the description down below, so you guys can follow him. And thanks for watching. See you soon in the next video.